Hi everyone, my name is Jenny and welcome back to my channel. Happy 2026 to everyone watching. We are so back and we are so in the reading mood for 2026. I'm a little tired today because I've been working overtime this entire week and it's just catching up to me, but I literally only have one day left of work this week and I can rest and I have some really fun baking plans and things for this weekend, but all of that to say, I am on the tail end of my recovery from my flu. I think if you've watched my best books of 2025, I talked about being sick. I felt a little bit better that day, obviously, well enough to film and edit, but the subsequent days have been a little bit of a struggle. But I think that's just what happens when you're sick and you're recovering from a flu. You just have those on and off days energy wise, but I think I am really gonna get over it this weekend. I think I will be safe and I will be okay to, be about people and not get other people sick and stuff. I think though this weekend I might have to reschedule my dentist appointment because, having a little bit of a tickle, a little bit of a cough, having someone clean your teeth, that doesn't really sound like a good idea. So I'll call my dentist and I'll tell them to reschedule me again. But, better to keep them safe and myself safe. This week I am working on The Account of Monte Cristo. This is a book that I'm starting for I think it's 36 weeks that the reading plan, I have it divided and everything. If I remember, I'll link down below the blog post that has the division on chapters and such for you to see if you're interested at all. And then I'm also buddy reading The Red City by Marie Lu with my friend Michelle. She randomly was just like, read this with me. And I went to my library. My library had the audiobook and I was like, okay, we haven't buddy read in so long, and I love buddy reading with her because she just has such funny commentary, but then also we just read really good books together, and I've been having a fun time with that. I've actually never read Marie Lu before, and so this is a very interesting introduction to her work in general. I know that she's quite beloved in the YA space, but I'm pretty positive that the Red City is more of a new adult kind of age range, given the 50% mark that I'm at. There have been quite detailed sexual scenes, not intensely detailed, but detailed enough that I question whether or not is this the older end of YA or is this new adult? I'm not sure. Again, I talk about this very often. I am not a professional at age rating and genre, so maybe I'll look that up later and I'll tell you later tonight. But I think the plan is to try to get to maybe 80% of Red City. I'm going to have to check in with Chile because she wants to get the book done by tomorrow, which is Friday. So I think that is doable. For my plans for Account of Monte Cristo, I need to make it to finish chapter 7, leave off at chapter 8. And so I'm about 2 chapters behind that goal for this week. I was planning to do a chapter a day, but then I got distracted by doing things, and I'm trying to really fully annotate this book here and really engage with the text. I am so enthralled by this story, and let me just move you down here and we'll chat a little bit more casually together. Don't mind the boxes if you can see that there. But The Count of Monte Cristo is this intimidating classic to me because one, it's 1,200 pages, and I don't know, I just feel like I have this feeling that I'm not smart enough to read classics, and that could be because, I didn't have the greatest schooling experience when it comes to reading and being able to read and having that comprehension and having teachers believe in my intelligence to like read. Um, it was like maybe one or two teachers that gave me that vibe, but when you're young, a negative experience like that really leaves a deep impression. So 2026 is like this year that I dive back into classics and I kind of re grasp my agency and my understanding that I am actually a very intelligent human being, and whatever bullshit random ass teachers I experienced in my younger years has no reflection on who I am as a person now. And even then, I think I was a very capable student. I just didn't have the assistance that I needed in order to be someone who was like at the surpassing the grade level. I was definitely of grade level. I was passing all my classes very fine enough. But I wasn't at what the stereotype of somebody of my ethnic background would fill up. If you're catching my drift here. So I am, retaking my agency and reclaiming it by reading The Count of Monte Cristo. One thing about me is when I have a challenge, I really like to challenge myself. But the thing with Count of Monte Cristo, I'm gonna move you again. Like we're just playing some hopscotch here. I'm gonna like sit down. But the thing with Count of Monte Cristo is it actually reads so smoothly. Like I think the only confusing words that I've come across are like the name places in French, and I'm not a French speaker. I probably know like 3 words in French, and that would not get me by in France at all. So those are like the only things I'm struggling with. But the Robin Buss translation is just so smooth and so witty. Did I tell you what this was about? I don't know. Me editing this video is probably going to be like, what in God's earth are you talking about? So in this book, it's a classic revenge tale, right? So our main character, Edmund, we are introduced to him in chapter 1, and he is like the first mate of this trader ship, and they're coming back into dock, and the owner of the ship is just checking in with him, and you find out that the captain of the boat unfortunately died from like I assume is like a fever or a flu, because they call it like a brain sickness. And I think he just had a terrible, terrible flu, and he ended up leaving the earth. And so Edmund has to take charge because he's the first mate. Like, who else is going to take charge? And he helps bring this boat back to where they need to dock in France, and da da da, But unfortunately, Edmund is just that guy. Edmund Dantes. He is just the guy everybody wants to be, and he has haters on haters. There are 3 haters that we're introduced to in the first 3 chapters that I've already read. Oh my gosh, the drama of this book. I did not think that I would be so enthralled with this book, barely 3 chapters in. Okay, so like Edmund is like 20 years old, and he's got the girl, he's got the job, he's got the looks, he's got everything, and these 3 bitter ass men hate that he is happy and thriving. So clearly this seems like those are our suspects. Couldn't tell you. I'm going into the 4th chapter, which is called The Plot. So I'm assuming we're going to find out what these 3 heinous, terrible men are going to do. Again, this is a revenge book. So I just know something really terrible is going to happen to my baby Edmund. And we're going to have to suffer for 1,200 pages. And it's going to piss me off so bad. Like, ugh. I think in the 3rd chapter is when we meet Mercedes, and Mercedes, like, I think it's her cousin. Her cousin is like, oh, you're gonna marry me, you're gonna be my wife, and she's like, I don't like you. I don't like you at all. I love Edmund, and Edmund's coming back, and I'm not marrying you because you're like a brother to me, you're a cousin, completely family zoned, whether they're actually blood related. I think they might be, but, that's beyond me. This is in the 1800s. Who am I to judge? And he, like, has this dramatic monologue about like, if you don't marry me, I'm gonna die, and like my only reason to have been born was to be your husband, and for you to reject me and my love is just so emasculating to me and whatever. And I was just like, Dumas was really putting it all on the page. And this is 3 chapters in. 3 chapters in. I am so enthralled. So I'm going to continue reading that. I do need to catch up with my reading plan. So I have to read 2 chapters of that and annotate and everything. And then I have to catch up with my friend Shelley for Red City. I think later tonight, before I go to bed, is when I'll update you on Red City and talk to you about the general synopsis of it all and what my feelings are. And yeah, this is an incredibly long intro, as most of my vlogs usually are, so I'll leave you to it. And then not only will I update you on the Red City, and if I haven't yapped that much later tonight, maybe I will tell you about the other books that I have been reading and the book that I finished, my very first book of 2026. You know what? Who cares? I'll tell you about it now, okay? So I read my very first book of 2026 was Don't Fear the Reaper by Stephen Graham Jones. As you may know, I've been on my Stephen Graham Jones kick. I've been reading his backlist, and I've been really just absorbed and enthralled by his thriller horror work. Don't Fear the Reaper, my very first book of 2026, lo and behold, was a 5-star. It was a 5-star, everybody. I cannot believe. First book of the year, 5 stars. I feel so invigorated. I wasn't in a reading slump because I just wasn't in the mood for reading. That doesn't mean I was slumping in reading. I just didn't feel like picking up a book. So it wasn't that bad of a situation at the end of the year. But 2026, literally clock striked 12 a.m., January 1st. I was making reading plans. I started using Pagebound, made a whole reading plan for the first quarter of the year. And I just feel so invigorated. So that is super exciting. And then the other book I'm reading, you might know from my other vlogs, I'm reading the Apothecary Diaries before bed. I usually read like a chapter or two. And I'm on volume 13. And that one is so fun. Love Mao Mao, love Jinshi, love the dynamic duo that they are and how they are progressing as characters outside of their friendship, whatever you want to call it. And it's just been great. And I love reading and I love my hobbies. And, maybe I'm not as tired as I thought I was. It's just, I'm not having that much fun at work. But who really has that much fun at work? If you do, comment below and let me know what your job is so that I can change my career. Anyway, I'm gonna go read now, and I will update you later tonight on Red City by Marie Lu. Good evening, everyone. I'm here to update you on Red City by Marie Lu. I am 85% into my read, and then also I did not get anything read of Count of Monte Cristo because I'm just focusing on completing and finishing this buddy read with my friend. The basic premise of this one is 2 rival crime syndicates in the city of Angel City, which is based off of Los Angeles, or technically they are in Los Angeles. I believe they say that like in the first few chapters, but they end up individually recruiting these 2 students that happen to be friends growing up in like high school or whatever, I think is when we first start following them. The female main character, her name is Sam, and then the male main character, his name is Ari. And so they individually get recruited to be alchemists for these crime syndicates. And basically, alchemy is kind of like a known thing, but it's kept relatively secret. Like, it's not that people don't know about alchemy, but it's like kind of underground type of work, and you have to just know people in order to even train in alchemy or become an alchemist or, be involved with anything, but it is all nefarious stuff that they do, at least from what we've read. And I will say, I think in the last clip I was trying to tell you whether it was YA or not. It's an adult debut from Marie Lu. So I obviously, when my chalet asked me to read this with her, I knew nothing about it. I just got my copy and I started reading because she asked me to. And I was like, all right. Um, and so I was under the assumption that it was YA because Marie Lu, all her other work has been YA. Um, this one definitely is not. Definitely is not. There is a lot of detailed on page like violence, and also there is very detailed on page sexual scenes that I believe I referenced before, but I think like the first two scenes that I had read were relatively vague. Yeah, from my memory, they were relatively vague. Like, they didn't name body parts. So I was assuming that it was like, okay, like sometimes in older YA, there are kind of like sexual scenes that happen between characters in a consensual matter. And it's like, oh, you know, vague words. So I assumed that it was YA because, like, the first few ones, I was like, I mean, this is vague enough. But no, it's an adult one because I read another scene, I think like 60% in, and I was like, oh, this is very detailed. Very detailed indeed. Um, and that happened. So that's when I was like, let me go check the story graph thing on this one and see what the folks are saying. And report back to you because I promised you I would. And it's her adult debut, which makes sense. My thoughts on this, I'm not going to obviously spoil it at all, but I think up into the 30% mark, I was really unsure about this because of the fact that, like, at the very beginning, we're introduced to Sam and Ari. I think when they're 13, maybe a little, I think Sam actually, we meet her a little bit younger than 13. And so I'm like, okay. And they're going to school. They meet each other. They're kind of like, would I say outcast? Like, yeah, Sam is a little bit of an outcast, and Ari is like the first person that like really recognizes her and sees her. And so they have this budding friendship and they like pass notes to each other. And so I'm sitting there thinking, like, okay, so when is like the crazy stuff happening? And the thing is, my chalet's friend had told her a comp of like Jade City, and I totally can see where that's coming from because obviously, like these crime syndicates in Jade City, there's these two rivaling clans that fight each other. So I definitely see the vision there for Jade City, but because I had that in my mind and we were like in high school dealing with like high school feelings, I was like, okay, I'm not sure where this is going. But then we reach like the 30% mark, and that's when our main characters are really getting introduced into the world of alchemy. And I think that's where it really kicks off. This feels much more of a focus on character relationships. I did see some comments on Pagebound talking about this feeling very Romeo and Juliet-esque. They're not rival families, obviously, like Romeo and Juliet, but obviously rival crime syndicates. I feel like when you're in rival families, it's a little deeper than a crime syndicate because it's like, I wasn't in this criminal enterprise before, so I could totally just switch sides, no questions asked, versus when it's your family. I feel like when it's your family and you switch sides, that's a little bit more dramatic, but who's to say, right? Anyway, back to my thoughts. Yeah, so it feels more character focused to me, which is fine, and it feels character focused in a sense of the two main characters obviously exploring the lengths in which they will go in order to embroil themselves within crime to help the people that they love. So in Ari and Sam's case, they both are doing this in order to help their family. They're from like immigrant families. Ari's family lives in India, and he was kind of plucked away from them and taken to Los Angeles in order to receive an education and kind of benefit his family in that way. Sam's mother is a single mother, and she ended up immigrating on her own with Sam as like a young child. So Sam is also an immigrant, just like Ari. And I think there isn't enough discussion. I don't know if enough. Like, I feel like they're focusing so much on the plot here, but I think there could be underlying themes that we could really build upon in regards to these like young, vulnerable children who are manipulated by these big crime organizations because they don't necessarily have roots in the place that they're in, that they immigrated to. And so inherently, these young children are of a more vulnerable background. And I think it's vaguely touched upon, especially with like other people within the crime syndicate that Ari is in. He has like other younger people around his age. At this point, they're in their like later 20s, so they're not young anymore at the point that I'm reading. But I feel like, yeah, with an adult novel, we could really build upon those really interesting topics of them being immigrants and them being in like this area that sells them the dream of, if you have the ability to do anything, like the American dream, if you pull your bootstraps up, anything is possible. And for Ari and Sam, the bootstraps is being an alchemist, but being an alchemist comes with a lot of things that you have to sacrifice in regards to morality. And yeah, it feels like Marie Lu is leaning more into that conversation of like, how much of your morality are you willing to sacrifice versus this more side plot that I'm thinking of talking more in depth about, you know, just being a foreigner in Los Angeles and having somebody who has deeper roots and culture and influence in this area, taking advantage of you as someone without any further family. I think, yeah, at the beginning I was unsure, but at the 30%, I'm more invested in regards to the plot and the drama of it all. Like, it's a fun read, but if I think about it a lot, I think as an adult novel, again, there are more themes that I think Marie Lu could really, really delve deeper into and create more of, I don't know, a richer character study of these two, because they're really interesting characters, especially when we get to the point where they're alchemists. Like, there are a lot of things that they're questioning in their minds about, like, am I willing to do this? Am I willing to sacrifice these things about myself in order to benefit my family back home? And yeah, I think it's an interesting thing, but it kind of is left pretty vaguely, and more of the focus of this book is like the drama between the two crime syndicates, which is, maybe that was Marie Lu's point. I don't know. I'm not Marie. I don't know Marie. This is the first time I'm ever reading from Marie. Overall, it's like a 3-star, but the drama of it all, it's giving like 4. So I'm probably going to have to do a little math and do an in-between rating for that right now. But yeah, just here for the drama, really. Here for the drama, here for the mafia vibes of it all. One of the characters is like, well, actually, Ari is supposed to be like this really hot, charming guy, but like the other guy that Sam is hanging around with, Will Taylor, he's supposed to be that guy. I could see the vision. Personally, I can see the vision. But I don't know if I'm going to invest in the vision, if that makes sense. I don't think you're supposed to want to invest in the vision of Will Taylor, but I can see where he's coming from. I can see what the setup with Will is. I'm gonna get going now so that I can do my last day of work for this week, and then it'll be the weekend and we can have a fun dilly-dally time. So I have completed Red City by Marie Lu, and I thought I'd give you my final thoughts on it. If you hear my dog huffing and puffing in the corner, I apologize. I don't know what he is doing. But I am unsure how to rate this because I think yesterday I've not rewatched that clip and I have no idea if I made any semblance of sense, so I apologize if I didn't. But I think the first 30% was a bit of a slog to get through. The plot points after that 30% mark were really fun and really exciting. I'm someone who really likes mafia type stories, like the Jade City Greenbone Saga series is one of my favorite ones. But given that that also is an adult series, I kind of expected Marie Lu to get a little bit deeper in regards to the world building, because Red City is based off of our current world. I would assume a little bit more futuristic, but the main place that this is going in is called Angel City, which is based off of Los Angeles. And there was like a few scenes where some of the places they're at, I'm like, those are places in LA that I've been to. So I'm like, okay, so there's a little bit lack of world building there. But when I'm talking about building out the world, I'm not necessarily saying like you got to describe the streets of LA for me. I'm more looking for deeper description of these crime syndicates and the deep and rich history of why they are so influential in this area, and not even in LA alone, but it seems to be influence across the nation, or at least it feels big like that. And I don't think Marie Lu convinced me. It was kind of one of those things where it's like, they're the mafia, so of course they're gonna have influence because they're the mafia. And I just had to go along with it, which isn't bad. Like, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But again, given that it is this kind of adult mafia, dark, gritty fantasy, I wanted a little bit more of the history of these two crime syndicates. I feel like I knew a little bit more in regards to Grand Central, which is the crime syndicate that Sam is in, versus Luminous, which is the crime syndicate that Ari is in. I don't think there was like a balance in building out those two worlds. And then also character motivations felt a little lacking to me in some regards. Like there didn't seem to be like an end goal for our main characters throughout. And so I was just wondering like, okay, they're embroiled into this thing because of this one like induction event, which is them wanting to help their families. But after that, of course, when you are given the funds and the means to take care of your family, you end up having a different goal. And I don't think that different goal, as they grew up and they were in their 20s, came to fruition or was talked about clearly on page. And then also, I think there are multiple relationship dynamics, especially like sexual relations, that I don't know came into question, and I was unsure whether or not I was meant to root for them or like that was what the story wanted me to root for. This could be a mild spoiler, so I'll put a spoiler tag up here. But there is a sort of budding relationship for Sam and her mentor figure, and then also with Ari. There is somebody who is his mentor figure when he's like in high school, so the both of them are 15 at the time, and they end up having sexual relations with those mentor characters later on. And I was like, I was unsure because Ari, apparently, that mentor figure is around his age, but that didn't seem to be the case when I was reading like the first 30%. So when a smut scene happened with them, I was like, whoa, what the hell? And I had to go Google and figure out that apparently she's around his age. And then when Sam talks about this budding feelings for her mentor, Will. It just like we know that he is about like a decade, 9 years or a decade older than her, and they meet when she's quite young. And I'm like, there's nobody questioning this. And I know that they're in the mafia, you know, and nefarious shit happens in the mafia. I'm not in the mafia. I don't know. But I could assume that nefarious shit happens. But like, I don't think it comes into question at all. So at this point, it's like she's chill with it. There's not any of semblance of like, this is kind of weird that I'm into him and he knew me when I was 15 and he's, the leader's son. Should I be getting involved in this? Yeah, there was no question of it. So I'm like, I don't know. So I think I'm going to sit on this. I've just clocked out of work, so I'm going to sit on this, my thoughts and opinions, and then maybe later tonight we can talk a little bit more about it when I've solidified a rating. But I'm going to go catch up with my reads for Count of Monte Cristo, and then I think I'm going to finish my knitting project so that I can block it and everything finally. But I will give you updates later tonight. And yeah, that's all I have to say for now. I'm getting ready for the day. I have a few plans that are like home related. I need to clean my sheets, and I also am starting my very, very first cinnamon bun bake. I will link down the recipe below that I found, but basically it's like a milk bread inspired dough, and I really like milk bread. I like how fluffy it is and how like soft the texture is, and then also it just has, I don't know, like a natural sweetness to it from like the milk breads that I've had before. And I am the type of person who really likes the center of a cinnamon bun, but not so much like the sort of crispier edges of a cinnamon bun. And I know my brother before had made like a brioche bread kind of cinnamon bun before, but I feel like it's still, although it's like nice and rich, it still has that kind of crunchier texture on the outside. And so I'm hoping milk bread doesn't have that, because like when you see milk bread at the store, like the loaves are just much softer. If you've never had milk bread, it's pretty, not flavor wise, but texture wise, pretty similar to Hawaiian bread. I don't know if Hawaiian bread is like milk bread. I don't know. I'm not a bread expert, but that's what I'm doing today. And I think tomorrow I'm running some errands with my cousin, and I might stop by Barnes& Noble. The two things that I want to get, first I'm picking up my membership tote bag, and then also I want to get a copy of Pride and Prejudice. I read that book when I was in high school, I think, and I want to reread it. I read the book after I watched the 2005 rendition of Pride and Prejudice. So I want to reread that. I heard that there's going to be like a show adaptation of it. I haven't really heard much besides that, but very interesting to see that there's another classic adaptation. And then another book that I want to pick up is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, I believe. That book I think my brother had a copy from like school or something. I'm not entirely sure. One of my siblings had a copy, and I was interested in reading it, but it felt so much of a different writing style that I was used to at the time that I attempted to read it. And I think the past year, one of these book Instagrammers I follow, her handle is Interested in Black Books. She read Wuthering Heights, and the drama of her story updates every single day that she was reading that book was so exciting. And I think it made her top 2025 books. So I'm really interested in seeing that. I did see the trailer with Margot Robbie, and the trailer, I've not read Wuthering Heights, but the trailer, it looks so much different than my expectations of Wuthering Heights. So, you know, who knows? I'll read the book and maybe I'll be surprised. On reading updates, though, I finished Red City yesterday. Did I already tell you this? Oh yes, I was supposed to tell you my final rating. I am going to give it a 4 star. Um, as I had said in yesterday's clips, I had a lot of issues in regards to like some of the world building lacking a little bit, some of the character motivations lacking a little bit. And I do think like the main pairing, I wasn't fully convinced of their love. That was just me though. I did find a review on Goodreads of somebody basically saying exactly the things that I had issue with, but they gave it like a 2.5. I'm giving it a 4 star because I buddy read this book, and despite all the issues that I had and that I complained about yesterday, I had a lot of fun reading this book. Like the drama of it all was so like I was turning the pages because I was like, oh my God, what is going to happen next? Although I predicted what most of the twists and turns of the story was, it was still so tantalizing. And I was like, the drama. I am someone who really, really loves like mafia stories. That could be because I like grew up watching a lot of like kung fu movies, and a lot of the kung fu movies have this like warring factions kind of dynamic, and I don't know, something about that like rivalry in such a tense and gritty setting is so my vibe, and that's why I really love Greenbone Saga. And I this one isn't fully Greenbone Saga to me, but it has the little inklings of it, which I really enjoy. And I really, really like the alchemy of it all in this one. And also just buddy reading with my Shelley is always a fun time buddy reading with her. And funny enough, the next book that I'm picking up is another buddy read with my Shelley. You know, her and I haven't gotten to talk in so long because of, you know, busy lives and such. But getting to chit chat with her about books again is just so fun, and it makes my heart feel very full. I love reading with her. So, the next book that her and I are reading, and a few of our other friends as well, we're reading City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. So I had this fun, silly idea to do like a nostalgic read. I read City of Bones, I think in like 7th or 8th grade. One of my friends in middle school was like, hey, I saw this book and I think you should read it because it's like this urban fantasy. It's really fun, it's really fresh. And she got me really into it. I think I read up to the 3rd book. I don't know the titles of the books, but the 3rd book in the City of Bones. This one, is it the whole universe is Shadowhunter? Is this one Mortal Instruments? I think it, or is Mortal Instruments the Clockwork Angel one? I don't know. I will write things on the screen for you so you know the correct information. But I stopped at the 3rd book, and then I read Clockwork Angel, which is book 1, as they were being published. And I remember I used to email Cassandra Clare. Um, I think I remember emailing her after the thing that happens in the 2nd book, the reveal about Clary and Jace. And I was like, Cassandra, girl, what are we doing? What are we doing here? I wish I had my old email. And I remember telling her, like, thank you for writing such a fun book. Like, I'm used to reading books for school, but not books for fun. And, you know, she's very kind in the emails from my memory. I wasn't telling her anything crazy, but I was just like, why is this a twist in book 2? And then I read, again, Clockwork Angel. And then I think I started reading, is it Clockwork Princess is book 2? But then I didn't finish it. Like, for some reason, you know, I was busy with high school life, so I just stopped reading book 2 and I never got back to the series. And I've seen a lot of people pick up the Shadowhunter world again and read it. And so I thought maybe let's revisit this story. So yesterday I only read like a chapter and a half of it because I was watching the US figure skating thing on my TV with my parents. And so I wasn't really reading a lot, but I got to a chapter and a half. And it's so funny, human memory. Like, I vividly remember that scene in the club in the 1st chapter where Clary is, you know, with her best friend Simon, and then they run into like some nefarious group of people. So it's really fun getting to revisit something that I really enjoyed as a kid. Like, what is it? I have like a decade of life upon myself when I had read that book, but it is what it is. It's really fun. It has a lot of like that cheesy 2010s kind of YA writing, but it's something that's so fun and of its time, and I really enjoy it. And I think the concept of Shadowhunters is really fun, so I'm really excited to get through that and read that one. And maybe in one of my next vlogs, I'll tell you what my opinion is when I complete the book. I don't think I'm going to complete it this weekend, but we'll see. And then Count of Monte Cristo, I'm 3 chapters in. I just have an enemy list that is 3 people long, but 3 people too long for that book. Those people just really hate on my boy Edmund, and I am not very happy about it. They're just haters for haters' sake and no reason at all. I mean, I guess when you see somebody succeed and you're like, damn, I wanted to marry that girl, and damn, I wanted to be captain of a ship, I could see why you're kind of bitter. The third guy, I'm not entirely sure why the third guy, he's like a tailor, I'm not sure why he's bitter about Dante's. Maybe he's just hot and he's like, damn, I wish I were hot too. But yeah, it's just one of those books that it's like, I want to read it slowly and consume it slowly, but at the same time, I just want to devour the story. But yeah, I'm gonna stick to my 36-week plan as was planned. I do have to catch up a lot on that reading because today is the last day of the week, Saturday, so I need to have read all 7 chapters before our next week plan. So that's what I'm gonna do while I'm waiting for my cinnamon buns to cook. But I will pass you along to me in the kitchen, and we're gonna start prepping the cinnamon bun dough and everything, and hopefully this bake goes well. Hello everyone, I hope you enjoyed watching me make those cinnamon buns. For my first time ever, I think I'm going to give myself an A+. The texture was fantastic and everything that I thought it would be with that milk bread base. And also it wasn't too sweet. The recipe that I used, the cream cheese frosting also was very well balanced and I really enjoyed that. I'm gonna have my cousin take some home with her when she sees me tomorrow. And yeah, I really enjoy that. Can't wait to eat that throughout this week. And yeah, it's so amazing. The texture was everything I dreamed of. But as I was waiting for the dough to prove, had uploaded the clips that I had taken prior, and I am just so chatty. I have so much to edit and work with, so I thought I would end the vlog here. So just as a reminder of what I read in this video, I have the Count of Monte Cristo, which I started. I am going to be reading 4 more chapters later tonight so that I can catch up with that plan goal that we have for 36 weeks. I will also try to link that down below as well. And then I read Red City and completed that in this vlog, and that was a 4-star, very fun read. I highly recommend reading it via audio as well because there is a kind of cast narration. Also, the book that I started yesterday and was reading as well while I was making my cinnamon buns is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. I am now 33% into the book. I'm at like part 2, towards the beginning of part 2. And wow, what a nostalgic read. Some of the things I was like, oh my gosh, I don't remember these details from when I had read it, and certain character reveals about the character Luke. I didn't really remember him in the story. I did remember Clary's mother, but not so much her mother's friend, Luke. So that's really interesting to read about. There is a lot of like conversations about body and like what the body looks like and being skinny and thin. And I'm like, oh, it makes me think about the kind of media that I was reading when I was younger. I mean, it was like 2010, 2013, like that Tumblr era. So it doesn't necessarily surprise me, but then at the same time, I'm like, this Clary person will not shut up about all these other women being skinnier than her and not her, like her not being cute because she's not willowy and thin. So it is a little bit annoying, I will say, but it's not to the point where I'm not enjoying it. It's just one of those things as me current now as an adult, I'm like, this is concerning, Clary, but it's not necessarily something that is taking me out of the story. I'm really interested to see what the details of the book go to because I obviously can't remember the book that I read like 13 years ago. So I'm very excited to see where it takes Clary and Jace and Simon and Isabel and Isabel's brother. Is it Alex? I don't know, we haven't gotten too much of him, but it has been a fun read to like kind of catch up on and like feeling those kind of nostalgic vibes while reading it. So I'm very excited. Hopefully in the next vlog I will have a finished thought and update for you on that book. And then also my before bed read, Apothecary Diaries Volume 13. I am also 30% into that. So I am having a fun time being with Mao Mao, and having these interspliced chapters with Jinchi's perspective has been really fun and just a nice read before bed. But with that, thank you so much for following me along the past, was it 3 days? I feel like I've been vlogging for so long, but I don't know, this week has just felt incredibly long for me. But thank you so much for being here on my first vlog of 2026. It was so nice to catch up with you. In the comments down below, please let me know what your first book you read this January of 2026 is, and if you have any craft projects that you started or finished already, I would really love to know about that. But if you don't have anything else to say, let's put some ship emojis or boat related emojis for the Count of Monte Cristo. And I hope you enjoyed this vlog, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!